life, Eck your life. Well, for those who haven't seen it, this is my blue star shirt, and these are my Eck pants here with the logo, if you can see it, and my Eck ring with my special number. So we have the Easy Way Discourses and my comments on them. So the paper, what was the paper called? 1435 Summary and Commentary on the Easy Way Discourses by Harold Klemp. And so from the 30th of the 10th month of 1434, we have Childhood Lullaby and Alayi Spiritual Exercise and the Easy Way Discourses. In the Easy Way Discourses by Harold Klemp, page 70, it's the 7th month in Eckankar's spiritual exercise. It's the 7th month in Eckankar's spiritual exercise. That is to hum a lullaby learned as a child for a few. Then one sings the word for the physical plane. They list ah, la, yi as the pronunciation, but Alayi or Alayi or Alayi is the likely pronunciation, as it is derived or related to the Arabic word Alayi or Alayhi. Alayhi. Well, anyways, are upon him. Are alay, meaning agreed upon. The claim is that all who I list the Sanskrit variation when I share the Eckworlds chart. The agreed upon. The claim is that all who are members of Eckankar have a close affinity between them and one of the Eckmasters of the physical plane. The claim is that saying this word may grant you access to one of the 7, if you count Darren Gross or Depren, the second in history to be called living Eckmaster, Eck persons and Eck places in the material world. Again, the 6 alleged Eckmasters listed for the physical plane are Peter Zask, or Paul Twitchell, Ribazar Tars, Kata Katadaki, Fabiquance, Yaubel Sakabi, and Wahzi are Harold Klemp. And they sell a full-size version of this and a full-size version of that, but that shows my point. I do not think of this sort of stuff to get in contact with real or imaginary leaders in Eckankar. I mean, if they want to be, if Harold Klemp wants to be interviewed, I'll respectfully interview him. But I started doing this exercise August 8th, and the night before that day. The way I did it was to hum Brahms' Lullaby, which I vaguely know in English as "Go to sleep." And then to sing Alayi over and over again as I went to sleep. I keep feeling like I dream or will dream about the chapel of the Temple of Ek in Chanhassen, Minnesota, which the sort of person I am and the sort of, that there's not really any belief attached to any particular time of year or level of congregation of going to such a place. I would basically, you'd also, obviously, when the day or two of the year when Harold Klemp goes through the building, I think that'd be the time to go. But that's not really announced. I can't find any account in the past couple decades or even a few decades where people, is there anything this century has he been in that building? It's interesting. There's a pyramid and stuff like that. But yeah, I'd like to go. And so, I mean, I wouldn't go on a pilgrimage per se. Just visiting the building, taking pictures, video, hopefully. But I don't think I may never be in Minnesota. But we have lesson 7, the master principle. It is not only the books published by the Eckankar Corporation and subsidiary companies that are subject to oversight by this religious corporation, but those of members writing on their own behalf on spiritual subjects. In Eckankar, the subject of mastership is central. They teach that a spiritual master can change cultural and moral law to serve his own purposes, but usually doesn't. Aren't all spiritual masters supposed to make an effort to benefit individuals and groups? Ultimate fate? Even the prophets faced hardships in life, and that is no proof of lack of spiritual authority. Eckankar claims to always be led by a master who is mixed of divine and human qualities. In Al-Quran 112:4 says, "None are like him." Are equal to him in anything. And God is never referred to as male or female in Al-Quran or any other divine revelation. That's gender neutral. The purpose of creation is for the men and other beings of choice is only to worship God alone, according to Al-Quran 51:56. And then you have why in a response is the next 2 verses. The Easy Way Discourses of Harold Klemp says it's to serve life on page 62. This is spoken of as letting the meek inherit the earth because the strong in spirit will enter the highest reaches of heaven. The leaders of Eckankar are flawed human beings. Prophets of God, as Al-Quran 68:4 says, you are the best with the best of moral character. You're blessed with the best of moral character. Al-Quran 18:110 says, say, I am no more than a human being like you, being inspired that your God is one God. Those who hope to meet their Lord shall work righteousness and never worship any other god besides his Lord. One works righteousness and never worships any other god. Oh, work righteousness and never worship any other god besides his Lord. One constantly sees why this is among verses to be recited specifically to deal with the pseudo-messiahs and the end times. Harold Klemp wants people to view him and whoever leads the Eckankar Corporation after him as a principle as well as a person. But nothing is equally human and divine. And it's interesting that their springtime seminar, the Catholic to Protestants Easter coincides with their springtime seminar starting last night. I'm going live during the time where their Q chant was going on. And certainly we'd want to, why can't God just have somebody deliver a message without making them like a God on earth that doesn't, and a God on earth that can't control his diet and is afraid of, using a DVD player because or whatever the current electromagnetic frequency issue that, you can't live in, if you can't fly in a plane because of the EMFs, you're gonna not live in a house. But anyways, before don't let me ramble into that one. In Al-Quran 11 27 through 28 and 23 33 through 34, it relates how disbelievers claimed it would be foolish to follow a human being who goes through hardship. I just talked to someone last night about this whole issue of, let me make sure the chat is up so I can see if anybody appears. There's a difference between a spiritual text saying that people say something and, oh, this is our doctrine, they say, Harold Klemp admits that Eckmasters can go through at least the hardship normal people do. He often talks of himself as taking on the hardship. He has talked about himself as his illness and stuff being, for us. And this is the current name of Eckankar, by the way. Religion of the Light and Sound of God. It was called the New Age Religion. Total consciousness, the path by location. I don't know how many different names it's been. If one deems someone a true spiritual leader, one has to be careful what they attribute to them and connect to their authority. Al-Quran 27:1 says, "We did not send before you any except men whom we inspired. Ask those who know the scripture if you do not know." Ayat 8 continues, "We did not give them bodies that they did not eat, nor were they immortal." Heeding to God's words for this age, we should never let the humanity of an individual stop us from belief. At Islam, one is encouraged towards faith from all fields of knowledge to gain faith of the message to the worlds for the rest of this age. See Al-Quran 21:107, 38:87, and others. Eckankar teaches to just believe everything that comes out of the mouth of its figurehead as absolutely true. It doesn't say to live the same life as him, but any lack of belief or understanding is said to be out of being trapped in illusion. If this world is illusion, how do we live in it? Muhammad specified which was Quranic and which was other divine revelation when he spoke. Harold Klemp does not make that distinction in his claims about his public talks, because he's supposed to be specifically God-possessed, like God can be limited in spatial or physical, and other physical terms. Al-Quran 53:3 says about Muhammad's relating a vision, nor was he speaking out of his own personal desire. Verse 4 says, it was divine inspiration. 8:5 states that something applies to Al-Quran as a whole, dictated by the most powerful. Eckankar teaches its followers to not judge by human standards. At Islam, alms are for the poor and needy. Al-Quran 11:29 relates how prophets don't take salary from the people for preaching and religious duties. Eckankar teaches that prophets are to make a profit from its members. There is no concept of obligations of charity unless money spent to spread Eckankar practices is considered. The only obligations are membership and other fees given to the corporation and subsidiaries. Now, back when Americans were mostly middle class, Eckankar was charging $130 a year, and some exceptions were granted for membership. Then they switched to $60. The claim was overseas, but because most Americans want to pretend like they're middle class, so therefore, and always with groups that don't charge a tithe, they're like, "Oh, it's a bargain." And certainly the celebrities and stuff that can afford like Scientology, a group that Eckankar, Paul Twitchell was a leader of, he was number 3 in command under. But charging for e-meter readings and stuff like that, the celebrities that can afford $250,000 to go clear in a Watt 8 or however they say that is, it's cheaper than paying tithing, but I'm going to continue here. It is said that the Eckmasters answer prayers and have abilities beyond human ones. Don't these claims amount to their followers trying to support them against God, as stated in Al-Quran 11:30? Al-Quran 11:31 has the humble sort of thing a true prophet would say. I do not claim that I possess the treasures of God, nor do I know the future, nor do I claim to be an angel, nor do I say to those despised by your eyes that God will not bestow any blessings upon them. God knows best what is in their uttermost thoughts. If I did this, I would be a transgressor. Because they're only speaking the spiritual doctrine that's their own thing. They're saying, well, I need, I saw some leaves over there. Grab me 5 leaves. Yelling behind the tree. Grab me 5 leaves and 2 pitchers of water. This is but our, their favorite foods and all that. They weren't claiming that was religious inspiration or anything. And Eckankar, I remember a talk where he's saying that, the dinosaur kale that he was like relating the story to somebody. I didn't know whether to have dinosaur kale because I don't know what the Eckmaster says about it. And so and then he ended up dreaming, oh, I saw the Eckmaster eating kale. And the guy's like, yeah, I do eat different types of kale. Or I don't remember what exactly he said, but there are 970 Eckmasters listed by Paul Twitchell as having been the living Eckmaster before him, but all claims of them come through Eckankar material and that influenced by Eckankar since 1965. Remember, there was a Twilight episode called Behold Eck in 1963, ECK, which is unique. Usually Eckankar, Eckankar, Onkar, various God is one sort of things. The EK is more commonly known. The references to them as principal points to the reality they refer to. Psychological projection is one of the ways to explain that which is worshipped besides God. Either things are projected on actual beings or things are made up entities to fulfill a mystical or cosmological need. To fulfill mystical or cosmological needs. Al-Quran refers to both forms of idolatry. The idea that there are hundreds of Eckmasters, not even named, that work with humanity leaves a theological ground of filling in the gap for any characters not officially on the list. Now, there was somebody who painted a full-on list of 972, but they went along with Darwin Gross when he, I don't remember what the official pronunciation is, because even in front of him, people said it. Even people who follow him say it differently. So Darwin Gross, he was, so 972. So somebody had the idea of 972, but the current Eckankar Corporation does not have that doctrine per se. Al-Quran refers to both forms of idolatry. The idea that there are hundreds of Eckmasters, not even named in the work with humanity, leaves a theological ground for filling in the gaps of characters not officially on the list. Paul Twitchell, or Pedar Zas, Darwin Gross, or Dapren, and Harold Klemp, or Wazi, are the only historical men to lead the organization. Darwin Gross was voted out in August of 1983. Even after that, there were two who called themselves living Eckmasters. Can you imagine an actual prophet of God being voted out by a corporation board to not be the prophet anymore? In 1988, on the John Eckankar show, Darwin Gross said he was a vehicle for the Mahanta. Page 66 describes the role of the Mahanta as the same person as a living Eckmaster chosen by Sugmad, who is God. Harold Klemp wants you to believe he is Wazi, your inner and outer master. Wazi, Peter Zas, Rebazar Tar, Kata Daki, Fabiquants, Yabo Sakabi, and others are said to be on the physical plane. I would have to say that Paul Twitchell is like their solar deity. Well, deity being a function of worship. So that's what they take him as. Harold Klemp is who they think is God of this earth, though they never use those words. Respect but not worship. And as we go on, lesson 10 of this one and other ones as we go on, we're definitely going to have this respect but not worship. In other words, give them a lot of worship by picturing them when they pray. And anyways, I'll let you decide more of that. Rebazar Tarsus is their Mercury character. Katadaki is their Venusian character. Fabiquants is one to meet in dream travels. Fubiquants takes charge of the mythical Katsupari monastery in Tibet as a jovial figure, Jupiter, in a priestly position. He is said to teach the Shariat Ki Sugmad, the book deemed most sacred in Eckankar. He is also said to pass on divine light and music. Yalbo Sakabe is a loner character of interpretation of dreams and awareness. What do you think the truth is about these called Eckmasters? And the truth about what Eck means, the truth about Eckankar, how this refers to other truths, whatever. But the next one, it's the 13th of the 8th month, 1440, by the way. And From the 11th month of 1434, Stranger by the River, Chapter 15, Spiritual Exercise and the Easy Way Discourses, Lesson 8. And so that is where we will continue. And there's a, just like, you know, the tarot, there's sort of a zodiacal sort of twist on my Blue Star of X shirt. Putting that much paint on a shirt you do yourself is kind of difficult. Ek is sort of a word that has varying meanings. 666 has came up a lot in my life. So 666 in the middle of my Eckankar name. And I have the chants. Alayi kalamana ambaju sugman Shanti hum hook aluk. Hugh. Is that what it was to say? Hum aluk hook Hugh. And this is their cosmology. I do other videos that explain this more and go into more depth, not only from the Eckankar material, but from the others. Rami Nuri was one not specifically mentioned, and Laitzi and Tawart Menangi, yeah. Where's Menangi? Gopal Das is they say he's like Egyptian. You know, it's part of their explanation what Jesus would be, and you know, I've given out cards like this because sometimes I've said other stuff on it, but Hugh is, in a way, it's unique for the Eckankar thing, and the Hugh being the chant of the 10th plane, the higher chant, the chant in between it all. The planes listed in your standard chart are the Anami lock, the Agam lock, the Hukikat lock, the Alayi lock, the Alak lock, the Atma lock, the etheric plane, the mental plane, which the etheric and the mental are said to be the same plane, the causal plane, the astral plane, the physical plane, and the astral, causal, mental, and etheric is basically considered like a greater mental plane, which, and then there's supposed to be a barrier between where you just drop off the mind and the body and then you go into spirit. But the body and the mind is considered negative, like a lot of very positive things about the bodies, particularly when you have, you know, the senses, the emotions, the memory, the mind, and the intuition. A lot of good sensual things what they talk about. A lot of good thoughts, good words, good deeds is a series that I recently left off for a little bit, but I intend to put more on it. Rulers of planes, Elam, Jat or Kalnaranjan, Ramkar, Omkar, Sohang, Satnam, Alak Purusha, Alaya Purusha, Hukikat Purusha, Agam Purusha, Anami Purusha, and you know, there's more to be said. And you have descending sounds, you know, because the 8th initiation is said to be God realization, self-realization is supposed to be the 5th initiation, but you know, you don't have to have all these things in order. The 14th being Akshar realization. And then supposedly you, as you go on, you dwell on the plane. So I'm dwelling on the astral plane. It's the realm where, you know, all the spirits and stuff like this, the heavens, the hells, and all this, like, hey, go ahead, say that I'm a dweller of the astral plane. And someone stuck on the physical plane, being the first initiates, but firmly established, sort of like the Kabbalistic, you have the Malkut, Yasud, Hood. Next, the para. Putchin, or bean. And Chesed. Dot. Bunya. Chukma. Cutter. Line swoop. Our. Ein soup hour. Ein soup. Line. You know, that sort of progression, but you're not firmly established in Malkut without the right creed and that sort of thing. But so descending, we have hue, the music of woodwinds, 1,000 violins, humming sound, wind, single note of the flute, buzzing bees, running water, tinkling bells, roar of the sea, and thunder. And if you close your eyes, you're probably going to see some pink in there, and you might even see some, might even be dominated by purple. And ooh, the purple's the higher one. And a lot of the stuff going on in the 60s and 70s and even the 80s and stuff has been, and certainly more stuff to come, may be officiated as part of the Eckankar beliefs, because certainly you got to respond to what's going on. But, well, I'll leave things for you to judge, but go Eck yourself.